Hey everyone, it's Mekkah. So a long time ago I posted a video where I unpacked an Echoes cartridge sent to me by Shurix, and I've played the game since then. I posted a thoughts video when I was like halfway through, but I never really made a video about the thoughts on the thing on the whole, which is what this video is going to be now. The reason this took a while to do is because I finished it a pretty long time ago, but I had some trouble collecting my thoughts and finding a way to word my criticisms in a way that is both new and not too negative, because the thing about Echoes is I definitely enjoyed it, but it peaks in the early game when it comes to enjoyment, in my opinion. And then it gets into a little bit of a slump in the mid to late game, and then it gets good again at the very end of it, at least in my opinion. But it's easy to come off this game as a little bit salty and disappointed, and I didn't want that vibe to catch into the video because I have both good and bad things to say about the game. So I'm going to be trying to repeat myself as little as possible from my halfway through vid, so if you haven't watched that one, go check it out, and that way you'll have a complete idea of what I think of this game. First off, I just want to say I'm really happy that I actually got to play this game. When it came out, I thought I'd just let it pass me by, but I'm actually very grateful for the opportunity to play it. Just like with Conquest, I thought the 3DS area was just not going to be for me, but you guys proved me wrong, and I've actually enjoyed my journey through it. So when I last left you guys, I was at chapter 3, and I'd done like the Elm half of it, but not the Celica one. And ever since then, I've played the rest of 3, as well as 4 and 5, of course. I finished the final boss, and we might as well get the giant bad elephant out of the room first. Holy god, the map design of Gaiden Echoes is just atrocious at times. And part 3 and part 4 definitely got the worst of this. They're not particularly hard or anything, but generally if you're trying to avoid the risk of death, you only really have a couple of options. And over the course of all of part 3 and part 4, I found myself relying on the same strats a lot because, while maybe more nuanced plans were possible, the map designs just seem to say, go ahead, use Bone Knights and cheese things at 5 range, use Elm, use Double Lion and whatever else you can get your hands on, use Dread Fighters, and use Warp and Rescue when you can. And for the most part, I really didn't find that all that interesting, and that's a bit of a bummer because pretty much everything else about Echoes is great. But in the end, the most important thing about a game is that it's fun to play, and a lot of the times, Echoes just isn't fun to play. Especially the dungeons. I actually found myself actively avoiding battles in the Duma Tower, because if I didn't, it just would go on forever. And stealthing through the dungeons was actually a lot more interesting than just fighting things, so I actually got to thinking, maybe this was their intention. Maybe you're not meant to go through all these tedious battles and encounters, but you know, Fire Emblem players, they want that EXP. They want the EXP too much not to do that kind of thing. Especially since weapons have infinite use, and fatigue in dungeons is basically a non-issue, but I don't know, I can't really say for sure. But yeah, at the end of the game, I found Duma Tower to be a pretty big pain in the ass to find my way around in. I just wandered around for a long time, getting kind of annoyed. Ended up looking up a map because I was tired of going in circles. I don't know if that's really a proper criticism. Like, I'm not saying that like I walked around for hours, couldn't find anything that makes the game bad, because honestly I'm pretty bad at getting like around. I'm pretty bad at fighting my way around. It is pretty easy for me to get disoriented, but what I will say is, for me, Gaiden captured that feeling of a looming final battle and a climb to the top of the tower much better than Echoes did. Like, you can trash talk the OG Gaiden all you want with its bad UI and simplistic NES era stuff, but the first time I went through Duma Tower there, it was much more epic for me. Granted, that was my first time doing so ever, while by the time I played Echoes, this was like the 4th time I went up the tower, so that definitely does play into things. Again, all of this is just my personal experience and opinions. It's not meant to be an actual take on how the game is, it's just how I experienced it. Now, there is something else I need to say about the final section of the game, that it has been said 1,000 times before, I think, but it needs to be said anyway because it really annoys me. And that's the cutscene with the Trust in Falchion thing. I'm not going to spell it out, just in case someone is here and they haven't finished Echoes, but that cutscene is stupid. And it was just another one of those in a long list of silly additions that added nothing. Put it up there with Conrad, for example, another character that really shouldn't have been there, but this stupid scene, they made it double silly by spoiling it through some kind of in medias res thing. I'm sorry if I butchered the pronunciation of that. I don't actually say that word out loud very much, but the thing where they play the scene way ahead before it happens. So my guess is that someone at IS heard that starting things off in the middle of a confusing and dramatic scene works really well, and it did really work well for Awakening because the whole changing the future theme was actually pretty well integrated into the game. Like, you can talk crap about Awakening a lot, but that is something that sort of worked for it. And they thought, well, that worked really well, let's do it again for Fates, and then let's do it again for Echoes, and it was worse and worse every time. And I really hope that they get the message that they shouldn't do this again for Three Houses, but I don't think enough of a signal has been sent to them, so I wouldn't be surprised to see it in Three Houses. Now, as someone who was already familiar with the Guidance story and ending, it was completely void of impact for me, because I know that everyone involved in this cutscene lives to see the end, so there is no tension for me. I know it's some kind of cheap quote-unquote twist to grab my attention with nothing behind it, but a friend of mine with no prior exposure to the story was annoyed by it as well, because now he knew that not only this stupid scene was going to happen, with one of the characters either dying or maybe through some kind of weird excuse living, but also that up to this point, none of the characters in the scene are going to die because this scene has yet to happen. So any scene where these characters are in any kind of danger now is also just gone. So it sucks whether you're already spoiled on a story or not. And in case you didn't know, yes, Fire Emblem games do sometimes kill off characters, sometimes important characters, sometimes even main characters. They can do that. Anyway, that's a lot of rambling about, honestly, a blip on the radar and the whole thing, so I apologize about that. Despite what it might sound like, I did enjoy playing Echoes. This is just something that stuck with me that I wanted to rant about for a little bit. I will not pull any punches when it comes to things that I dislike about it, but the things that I enjoyed about it were mostly in the first video. As I said, the game peaks pretty early, so I didn't want to repeat myself too much. I will say something I haven't mentioned yet. All Mekkah as lords are fantastic. I enjoy the fact that they are separated and united throughout the game, and you follow their respective journeys. The game plays pretty smoothly overall. It's pretty big on quality of life. Fire Emblem has been getting better at this ever since the GBA, but especially the DS and the 3DS games have really stepped it up. And of course it looks gorgeous and sounds wonderful. This is all still true, but you've already heard me say that, so that's why I'm not emphasizing it a whole lot anymore. Except just now, I guess. But yeah, there is just a lot of heart in Echoes, and I'm really glad that it exists, period. They easily could have ignored the old school part of the fanbase that wanted this, and given that most players probably never even knew Gaiden exists, that might not even be a very big fanbase. But that said, I will still criticize the part of it that I dislike, because I don't think settling for a game just because it's not another Fates copy in the end is a healthy approach to rating games. That is basically saying, it could be worse, when we should really be striving for something that's good all around, that doesn't have something super stupid in it. But yeah, that's just about all I have to say on Echoes. In case anyone is wondering, completely different subject, but I might as well say it here. I have not played the post-game yet. I know that Thebes has potential to be even more tedious than the Duma Tower, so it's not really high on my priority list right now, but I will check it out at some point, I'm sure. So one last time, I want to say thank you to Shurix for sending me your extra copy of Echoes. I'm super grateful, and of course thanks to you for listening to me ramble about this game. I'm not an official game reviewer or anything, but I do have my thoughts, and I hope you can resonate with them. Let me know what you think of Echoes in the comments, whether you agree or disagree. Now I gotta go, because my voice is killing me. Bye, like and subscribe.